The digital filmmaking revolution has taken over and filmmaking has become the new garage band. Welcome to Framelines. I'm Johnny DiLoretto. This show brings you the people who are making movies in your neck of the woods, gives you filmmaking tips, and takes you behind the scenes on film sets so you can get the full scoop.
Framelines is brought to you in part by grants by the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Planetary Media, state-of-the-art with an emphasis on art.
Next up, Peter John Roche shares some insight about making movies.
What do you do with your movie once you're finished? There are a lot of good films out there. There's no guarantee that even with a great film that it will find distribution today. You can go straight to YouTube or Vimeo, but that might disqualify you from film festivals. Film festivals are a good way to get exposure beyond the people you know. Festivals create an unbiased third-party recommendation for your film. A film is a product, and by getting into festivals, and especially winning awards, you're creating a value to that product. You're showing that people outside your circles like your work. Film festival submission fees are pricey. Entry fees range from $10 to $150, whether you get in or not. Budget for this before you start making the movie, and plan for the deadlines, which are easily researched online. Don't disregard the online release route. Neil Blomkamp got his big break when his short film, Alive in Joburg, was spotted by Peter Jackson. When it went viral online, Peter Jackson produced a remake as Neil's first feature film, District 9. You can always put your film online after a festival run. If your film gets a lot of views online, you're proving that your film as a product is liked by the masses, which is important for distribution or possibly your future resume. Showing that large numbers of people like your work has monetary value. Always try to think about what you plan to do with the film after it's finished, even before you make it.
What kind of costume is this anyways?
Tell Greg we'll meet him at the party, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Is that supposed to be based on a possum? Hey, Greg. David said he'll meet you at the party. How much longer are you gonna be?
Not long, Dad. Not long at all.
He didn't say a word the entire evening. Of course, I wouldn't mind it if that happened again.
Enemy of corruption and greed, hero of the weak and downtrodden.
Well, this is it.
Whew! Taj Mahal.
All I'm saying is this is Emily's friends and work group. You might want to make a good impression. She may hire you one day. Don't give me that look.
I started getting into this theater bug and doing more theater productions. And after a point, I was kind of feeling a little let down by the end of a theater experience, where the cast kind of breaks away. And it's kind of gone, and it's not really, it's only there in your memory. And I thought, gosh, if we make a movie, you know, it'll always be there just the way we left it. So my friend Milo Miller and I embarked on writing the script for Hero Tomorrow. Then I spent an entire year storyboarding and did 1,500 images, which is really where I think I learned filmmaking. And then we cast, shot for a year, and I edited for a year, and then it was in festivals for 3 years. But that project really transformed my career. From that point on, I was shooting and editing for a living. Hero Tomorrow, Milo's original concept was sort of a Spider-Man meets Taxi Driver. And it's about a guy who has an idea for a superhero that he's trying to get published. And his idea for the superhero is that, you know, so many great heroes are based on creatures. You know, Batman, Ant-Man, Spider-Man. There was this other kind of animal that mankind hasn't really discovered yet.
What kind of costume is this anyways?
Tell Greg we'll meet him at the party, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Is that supposed to be based on a possum?
And that's the Apama. The Apama is just a word he makes up, and he is the avatar of the Apama. So, but his girlfriend, who's an aspiring fashion designer, makes him an Apama costume for Halloween. And she takes him to a fashion kind of Halloween party where she wants to impress her friends. But of course, David goes into the bathroom and starts smoking weed and getting in fights, and it ends up blowing up in her face.
David!
David starts living in a barn and trying to be a real superhero, and that goes about as well as you think it might. We didn't do a feature in the way I would ever recommend it. I mean, there's 42 locations in our movie. You know, there's probably 200 actors or extras. We staged things in a full fashion show with runway models. We had a comic book shop, and in trying to shoot in an actual comic book shop, we were told by both Marvel and DC that we could not show their characters, just in the background. So we ended up, you know, renting a vacant storefront, and we went to a bunch of comic book conventions, met publishers who were independent that were willing to just kind of donate works, posters, shirts, everything to stock a completely bare storefront. So when you see the shop in the movie, it's, I mean, keep that in mind, but it is exactly as we would have wanted a comic shop to be. It debuted at the big Comic-Con in San Diego, and that was a real blessing for us because we pushed the heck out of it with all the media, and we got covered on Attack of the Show on the G4 network.
Well, let's start with some of the picks. You brought the best of the best, if
Yes.
you will. Hero Tomorrow.
Hero Tomorrow by Ted Sikora. The cool thing about this movie really is how ambitious it was on such a low budget.
IFC channel covered us because we were the only narrative feature that was shown at the Comic-Con Film Festival. And from there, we went on to Cleveland International, but we also played Fantasia in Montreal, which was a really good genre festival. And getting into that one, we were invited then to a bunch of other fests, like in Italy and Brazil and the Netherlands. So we had hired a sales agent to help us distribute the film. And there were a couple offers that came through, and this was in 2008, which was a notoriously bad year for selling any kind of film. Our offers were really poor, and it was really going to be the kind of thing where we could say, hey, we got a distribution deal, but we'll never see another penny, you know. So we thought about this character, Apama, that's in the movie, this sort of this weird idea. A lot of people who saw the film said, you know, this superhero that you're trying to develop in the movie really is kind of unique and weird, and I'd actually read it as a comic book. So we thought, why don't we actually do the book that's in the character's head. We were one of the first films to make deal with iTunes without a traditional distributor on board. I think we were told we were one of the first 20. So, and that's a really good split for a filmmaker. You know, you get north of, I believe, 80% of sales. So again, we thought, if, gosh, we can let people know about the movie through the book, this is going to work out. We went ahead and did the first issue of the book. We started sending that out to all the contacts we had made from doing the film circuit, and we got a ton of great reviews on the comic book. It prompted us to do a second issue, and we've just released a collection of the first 5 now. What I recommend a lot of people do who have big, grand stories that they want to tell, I say, you know, make a graphic novel. You know, I don't want to say that in a pessimistic way. I think that's a really positive way to do something, because you can control every panel, every page, and you can tell your story with no compromise. And if telling stories is really what's important to you, then that's an option. And you don't have to be at the mercy of some producer or you know, some finance that you just will maybe never attain. You do the graphic novel, and then you've got a great blueprint for a film, and you can really show it. So you kind of end up with this double gift in a way And I think it's really something a lot of people would benefit from.
Scott Spears moderated a panel discussion with actors from the Mid-Ohio Filmmakers Association.
What can help these actors out here find parts?
An agent.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Well, how do you get an agent?
You look up who the agents are in your city, where you are. You know, there's a lot of great resources, but just find the talent agencies that are in your city, first of all, and go that route. A good agent will tell you, I think a good agent will tell you up front whether or not they think you're ready, or if you might need some acting classes, and can direct you to that. But to get started, for me, it was a lot of my friends were just doing a lot of independent film stuff, and it was getting all of that experience, and they knew that I had done acting years and years ago, so I was always trying to find something that they were doing. But getting into the, I don't know if you want to call it like the, I don't want to say legitimate world, but like the paying world of acting.
Professional.
Yeah. I mean, find an agent. There's casting agents. There's agents, and I mean, if we're going to get into agents and things like that, be cautious of an agent as well. You shouldn't be paying to audition, like we mentioned before. There are things as an actor that you need to invest in. You need to invest in headshots. You need to, I think there's a continuing education that I would say you have to have a mindset of having as an actor, so that would be classes or workshops or things like that. But be cautious about where you invest your time and your money. Again, I think that's just a big thing.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think I started answering it.
Yeah, Christine, guys, chime in here.
Well, I think another place to get started would be student films, and I think some people overlook that. And I mean, students graduate at some point and get budgets and things. So, so sometimes if the project looks good, students, like college students or graduate students, they have good equipment. They know what they're doing. So that's a nice place to go to, I think, to look for independent film work. And there's websites. Plenty of places to look.
Right.
Can't think of the names of any, but they're out there.
Brian, you've been on both sides. What kind of advice can you give to actors coming before you or people you've gone in front of?
Well, I again, my acting experience is not as extensive as John and Christina. I come at it from both sides of the camera because I just got an agent recently, so that was a learning experience for me, because there is a process that you need to go through. You need to make sure that you get good headshots, and you need to make sure that you get an acting resume together. Even if you've got nothing on it, they're going to want you to go find stuff to put on it. They're going to want to know what your special skills are. If you can speak French, if you can speak Italian, if you can ride horses, if you can play baseball, they want to know. And they're going to have very specific ways they want to do all that. So a good way to start a reel is to do exactly what John and Christine were saying, is go find projects that are happening. I would suggest, maybe because of the way I came in, is you don't always have to go network with agents and people like that, but get to know people in production, because they sometimes say, hey, I'm shooting this thing on the weekend for fun, and I need an actor, and you said you wanted to do something, so come be a cop in my thing, and or come be the heroine or the detective or the teacher or whatever, and the next thing you know, you've got something to put on your reel just because they knew you. They knew you were out there. So sometimes just networking with people that are in production is a good way to find projects that would otherwise go under the radar.
Okay.
And I would also add on that when you get into the place where you're going from an agent into than going to a casting agent. Typically, in my experience, casting agents are at a slightly different level, and it's been my experience working with casting agents that they're casting for much larger projects that are coming through, or stuff that's being shot locally, whether it's been in Pittsburgh or in Cincinnati. And I think if you are outside of an agent and you haven't had a chance to get to a casting agent through an agent, you can always approach a casting agent on your own. I would just say be ready to, because I think in a local market, a local talent agent will be a little bit more forgiving and understanding of where you are in the process of learning the craft or getting into the industry or the business. But when you get into a little bit different tier of casting agents who are casting for day player roles for episodic TV or for second unit films that are shooting in cities or close to you, if you're going to submit to them on your own, be ready to do it. Because typically you get a couple shots to prove yourself when you go into an audition for a casting agent in that environment. You can go in and see them once, and if you really are not impressed or impressive to them, they will give you another shot. If you don't, if you don't see any, if they don't see any improvement, might not call you back. So be ready when you're going to go to that next level. But a talent agent is usually your way into getting to a casting agent.
And now let's look at cliches in movies. Boy, we're sick of cliches in movies, right? Here's an example of one of them now.
I have an issue with TV. To be more exact, bad cliches in TV shows. There's a reason people don't call reality shows documentaries. What passes as reality today is so far removed from real that the term is so loose, you could call The Hobbit a documentary. This is what most reality shows would be.
And now back to The Real Bachelor.
Uh-oh! Sometimes during playtime, boys and girls, things break. What do? Look to your left. Look to your right.
All this manufactured drama and allegedly interesting lives are all created. Where did the boom of reality shows come from? Again, when the writers' union threatened to strike, TV networks decided to plug their schedule with the union-free reality shows that have no actors or writers, all to save a few bucks.
Next time on The Real Bachelor.
Framelines goes on location to take a look behind the scenes on an upcoming production.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I think so.
You bit?
No.
What are you doing out here without a weapon? It's not safe.
Scavenging dead bodies. We've been out of ammo for weeks.
Alright, well, we should get out of the open. Let's get to cover.
No, you need to come back with me. My friends and I need protection.
Your friends? I can't take the risk.
We have shelter. We have food.
You have food?
Yeah, we're holding in a grocery store. We have loads.
Alright, lead the way.
I'm co-producer with my friend Andrew Maurer, who's director, and I was director of photography. We worked together. We were both grips on a feature film this summer in Kenyon, up in Gambier. And we talked about working for the 3 Weeks of Terror. We couldn't find a team to join that we both could get on, so we made our own team. And it's a short zombie flick in the post-apocalyptic era, and we shot it up in Gambier, shot on the 700. Basically, for crew, it was just me and Andrew. We had a couple of helping hands here and there, but we did all of our own makeup, all of our own lighting, all of our own setting up. It took about 2 weeks to produce. Go ahead and scout out locations, get the actors, write the script, correct the script, get all the equipment ready, and then we shot in 3 days.
The idea for the story came from a friend I worked on a short film, not a short film, a feature film with. His name was Dylan Coates, and he actually lives in Cincinnati. And we were just pitching our ideas for short films or for you know, any sort of projects we would want to work on eventually. And he told me about this idea, about an idea for a zombie movie. I was like, that is a cool idea. And then when I came for 3 weeks of Terror, I saw like the idea on the board, and I was just like, that would work perfectly for this movie. I like just like thought that that story would work perfectly, and I asked him if he would be willing to do it. And he unfortunately is in Cincinnati, and he like can't like work on the film, but he said, go ahead and try and make it.
Hardest thing was it'd have to be timing, just getting everybody together at once, and like, because most of our actors were students or Kenyon faculty, so it was like they only had a short limited amount of time they had to shoot. So we had to shoot a lot short, like a lot of small time.
Definitely, I think like learning on the fly, like I had like an idea of like how I thought the movie would like look in my mind, and I knew like the settings I wanted to use, like from campus where I had like lived there for 4 years, and I was just like, this would be perfect for this scene. And then just sort of the realities of like trying to, you know, commit it to screen. Like you're just like, well, this won't work because we only have so much time here, and then the sun's going down, and we only have, you know, 2 days where we'll have all of our actors available. So you just gotta sort of make compromises and then, you know, work with what you have.
Our editor was actually unable to like edit for the first 3 days after like we shot. We had a week left after we were done shooting to get it, you know, edited and turned in. And for the first 3 days, we thought this guy was editing it, and he wasn't able to. So basically, Andrew and I had to take on editing ourselves, like last minute. We were actually all day today editing it, and like driving here really fast to like turn it in. So
I had 3 actors that were supposed to play like some major parts of the story drop out, and then completely I just like turned all 3 characters into 1 character, and like just like made it work. And I think like the story ended up still working the way I sort of wanted to. So
well, I got a lot better at overall lighting and stuff. I was basically the most lighting myself. It's the first time I've really DP'd a film on this level. Like usually it's just, you know, me and some friends, and this was me and some friends, but this was more, I want to call it more professional. I used a lot of what I learned this summer working, doing some grip work and stuff. So I think I got a lot better at just lighting.
I'd say you definitely need to find someone who's very committed, someone who like has the same drive to try and make films that you do, or like someone who you can trust.
Make sure you like who you're working with. Make sure you're passionate about it, and just be committed and dedicated. And I mean, it's an art, but it's also a lot of hard work. So treat it like it's work. Just treat it professionally.
I think it was a tremendous idea to make it a 3-week, because I think if it was a 3-day film festival, first of all, I think my movie would be a lot worse than it ended up being. And I think it would have just been so much more challenging to like make like something like really interesting. And I think like expanding it to 3 weeks, you can like work on things, like work through script ideas, and it's just like getting that even just a little bit of extra time. It's not like 3 weeks is a lot of time to make a movie, but just like you have like time to make the ideas like come together, and you can like get everyone on the same page.
Oh, it's a blast. I mean, when I got here today, after racing down the highway to get here, the adrenaline rush was amazing. Like, and I love like when you're done on set, the second wind, like that's the best. I love it. It's not work to me. It is work, but it's not work. I like the people I've met. I like the productions I've worked on. I've come to a couple screenings. I like that. I mean, I think they have a pretty good thing going. I hope it gets bigger and just more people get aware of it, because that'd be nice.
Peter John Ross breaks down a movie making technique right now.
The colors of your image can have a powerful effect on the viewer of a movie. Color grading is a process where you can take your video image and manipulate the colors to make the overall look match the story you are trying to tell. At a very basic level, lack of color in the blues tend to mean stark and lonely. Bright colors and warm orange tones tend to mean happy. Or you can create your own meaning to the color properties in your own movie. One of the best examples of extreme color grading in a film to represent their own internal worlds is The Matrix. The green tint means they are in the simulated computer world. The cold blue colors mean they're in the real world outside of the Matrix. Color grading has become so common today, most cinema cameras shoot a fairly blank color palette to allow for better manipulation in post-production. Having some forethought about color grading process will help a lot. as the sets, lighting, and costumes have to match what your intentions are. Otherwise, the color grading will be a lot more difficult to achieve. So as you plan your next movie, make sure to remember the color when you make your decisions about locations, wardrobe, and even how you light your set. For this Framelines interactive tutorial, we want to focus on color grading. In the footage we're giving you, the goal is to color grade the scene to match the mood you want to set for it. The actors have intentionally given a vague performance so that the color scheme you use will affect the mood for the viewers. Also, as a part of this tutorial, you'll need to shoot your own insert for the scene. The setup is that a man gets handed a letter and you can write whatever you want for that letter, whether it's good news, bad news, or however you want the scene to be. You can download the footage from our Vimeo or YouTube pages. Just visit www.framelines.tv and follow the instructions on how to download the segments. Make sure when you upload your edits, please use the hashtag FramelinesTV and credit the people who donated their time to help make this possible. I'm Peter John Ross, and thanks for watching Framelines.
Framelines is ready to wrap up this episode. We hope you come back next time for another look into the world of indie filmmaking. If you'd like more information on the filmmakers or to purchase a DVD of tonight's program, please visit www.framelines.tv. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Cut and print. That's all for this week, folks. I'm Johnny DiLoretto. Thanks for watching Framelines.